Welcome to the 2022 A Second Chance 12-hour fundraiser. This is to help A Second Chance bring awareness and advocates for the transplant community and other life-threatening illnesses because it's so important. And I just want to remind everybody that we have an opportunity to bring awareness and share this story with so many other people. And I wanted to bring on the Kindness crew a special guest that is a recipient. Now, I've been exposed to the donor side, and I want to talk to Lorrinda Gray-Davis, our guest today on this hour. It's the fourth hour of the Second Chance 12-hour fundraising, and we're raising funds to allow people the opportunity to get a second chance in their life, to be able to move on in a more productive way. And in this event, it's going to be running till 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's bringing awareness programs like a Second Chance in the honor of working with people that have been able to help contribute to this story, this amazing adventure that has improved so many lives. And we need to get the message out even more and expand it beyond what we're already doing. So we really encourage you to get involved, get engaged, and have a little kindness, because kindness is cool and smiles are free. And anyone that knows me knows that I share that message over and over again. I've been sharing it for years because you never know what people are going through. You never know what challenges they're facing in their day-to-day activities. So let's work together, get informed, educated, and understand this complex process and make sure that you have new understanding, new information, and you can have some hope, or at least contribute to allow others to have hope for their future as well. So let's jump in. Let's get started. See ya. And welcome back. I just want to set the idea that we can have a little kindness and appreciation for those around us that may or may not be in the same situation we are. So, Lorrinda, thank you so much for joining this hour-long adventure. We're going to be talking about your story, your adventures, and some of the things that you're passionate about, and improving the understanding of what it means to be a transplant recipient, and work with your cause and hopefully support it. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
The thing that I kind of reflected on when Philip asked to have me join on and help out with this 12-hour fundraiser was, absolutely, positively, I would love to do this. And as a parent who has lost a child who did donate and was an organ donor, that's one side of the equation. And you have an entirely different side of the story, and some of the things that I think really are not as prevalent in the story from the recipients, because I go back and forth in this, and I want to ask you, would it be comfortable or uncomfortable for somebody that has a parent or a brother or sister or a son or daughter, if someone in their life they lost and came to you and said, hey, you received something from my family, and how does that make you feel, or how would that make you feel?
I'm emotional right now just thinking about it because it would be. Um, I'm very grateful for to to be able to be alive and to help others, and so it would mean a lot.
I wonder about that. I haven't reached out, and I want to reach out to people. However, it is emotional. It is interesting because it's, for you, a life-giving opportunity from someone who's lost theirs. And so it's really interesting to see that dynamic take place. And I really encourage people to become organ donors, because it does give life. It does change your life. And I want to have you share with people how it changed your life, Lorrinda.
Well, Russ, first of all, thank you for having me on, and I just love what Second Chance is doing, and I'm just very impressed with everything they stand for. And so my name is Lorrinda Gray-Davis, and I am now the president of Trio, Transplant Recipients International Organization. And I had a transplant August 8th of 2018. And so my story, I was told I had a fatty liver in 2014, and in the early 2000s, I had high liver enzymes, and no one really knew what it was about. And as we went through the process, 2014 fatty liver, and I lived in Arizona at the time, which I know you're located there, and I'm very jealous because it's so beautiful. And but I had a lot of things going on, but I didn't put them together. And so a lot of people that get sick that need a transplant, sometimes it's a series of symptoms that they associate with something else, or the doctors associated with something else, and they don't know it's happening until it happens, especially with the liver, liver failure, heart failure, kidney failure, even lungs. People go in and they're like, I need a what?
Yeah.
So when I in 2016, I moved back to Oklahoma and lived in Oklahoma City. And, it was a stretch because I got here, I was feeling good, but I still had these symptoms in my stomach distending, and I had these red spots on me, and I lost 15 pounds. And there is no woman out there that's going to be mad about losing 15 pounds. So of course I was like, oh, it's okay. And the
I'll
thing
be
was,
fine.
yeah, I'll be fine. I'm fine. That's a thing I said quite a bit. And I ended up going to the hospital, and I had pancreatitis. And then they said, hey, by the way, you need to have a paracentesis. I'm like, you're speaking words to me I do not know anything about. And
Yeah. Translate, please.
so that was really scary. And I ended up getting having a liver biopsy. And during that was April of 2017. And the doctor is yelling at me, telling me I have end stage liver disease, that I have cirrhosis, and you knew about this. Do you drink? And of course I drank. I had wine, I would drink. So so that was my big, what are you saying to me? And literally I was crying, and he was like, you didn't know? I said, no, I did not know. So that education of the doctor and the patient kind of gets blurred for a second. So that was the start of the journey, and it was I changed everything, changed my diet. I didn't drink. Everything was regimented. How can I make this turn around? Because the liver can regenerate, and most people don't know that. But if you stop doing what you're doing, or whatever's going on in your body, it will regenerate. And so I went back to the doctor. I went to the transplant center and saw a hepatologist, and he said, I think you're doing great, and I'll see you next year. And I'm thinking everything's wonderful. And so with liver disease, some things that happen is people get hepatic encephalopathy, and
Mhm.
they have problems thinking and processing things, and they sound like they're drunk because they slur the words. They really are. It really is poison on the brain from your liver not working. And I didn't know
Wow.
that. And people were asking me, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, because it's toxic. It's toxic for your body. So when your liver can't process, it creates its own toxicity. So it's
So I
amazing.
was,
I just want to welcome DJ Silver Fox Talks. Thank you so much for being here and joining this. Share this out. And also, just to remind everybody, this is a 12-hour fundraiser. We're going to be here for another hour. This is hour 4, and we wanted to welcome the pirates, the pirate crew, and also the kindness crew out there. That anybody that's listening in, Lorrinda's here to bring awareness to this cause, and also the ability for us to help bring some funding to help more people. And so thank you so much for being here, Lorrinda. And thank you, DJ, for being here as well.
Thank you.
And
So
so your liver was diagnosed, and then you actually you kind of went on a regimented diet and tried to get things back on track, and that didn't quite fare well for the long term. I take it.
it did not. And so I like to describe hepatic encephalopathy as liver injury to the brain, because cranial encephalopathy, CE for football players, is injury to the brain from being hit. So people can understand it better when they understand that it's injury to the brain from an organ. So it was from that. And I ended up being sick. I went to the hospital August 1st of 2017, and they said I had inoperable liver cancer and I needed a liver transplant or I was going to die. And the doctor turned around and walked out. And at that point, I'm like, what did you just say? And he leaves. And I told my aunt was with me. I said, run out there and get him. I don't understand. And I was in the hospital and I'm with you, and then was transferred to a room, and the chap kept coming by to see me. I thought, is he bored? I mean, didn't he have any other one to see, any other person, not knowing it was me that was having these issues. And so the doctor came back in and told me again, I had inoperable liver cancer, and I would have to get rid of the cancer before I get on the transplant list. So my brain goes to automatically, this can never happen. I'm never going to make the transplant list. I'm never going to make. And that's where my brain went to. I'm going to die.
So let me make sure that this story is, that I'm catching it right. So you had liver disease and you needed to get that either resolved, corrected, or something needed to happen. Then you got liver cancer as a result of that process on top of it. And you can't have a transfer. You can't have a liver transfer when you have cancer, active cancer. Is that correct?
Correct.
Wow.
So I had to get the cancer to stop growing and be able to pass all the tests to get on the transplant list. So that was an overwhelming for anybody. It takes your breath away because you're and no one can understand what you're going through, because family is going through what they go through, and the patient goes through what they go through. And it's hard for us because we're trying to process what we're being told. And it's a different type of grieving. And so
it's huge.
It is.
It's a huge process.
That is correct. So I went and had a taste procedure where they put chemo beads into the tumor, and I had an extra vein. I had a vein that ran straight to the tumor, and he was able to get up there, and it was a one-time thing. And he was like, I don't know where that came from, but you happen to have it. I fixed it. And they were able to stop the cancer from growing. And then I could go through the process of testing for the transplant list.
Wow. Wow. So I have to ask you, and this relates to what DJ was saying. It's I fell 3 stories from a billboard, and nearly lost my arm, and I got staph infection and a lot of complications. 2 years of rehab and reconstruction. However, I can only imagine what it took to receive that information and not be totally informed about it in that moment, and how you felt and what you had to go through in order to process that information, Lorrinda. I know, I had to dig deep in order to know that whatever happens is going to happen, and I'm going to be okay with whatever happens. So how did you process that information for yourself? And are you still processing that information?
It was hard to process because I knew no one that had a transplant.
Mm-hmm.
So I had no one to turn to. And so I'm in complete fear of dying, of trying to get the sign-offs from the doctor to get on the transplant list. And the transplant list is only one hurdle that you go through.
Right.
And so February 20th of 2018, I was able to make the transplant list. They accepted me, insurance accepted me, the hospital accepted me. So I was excited, but I was still so sick. And there's a lot of things I remember and some things I don't remember. And so August comes around again. So August is a very big month for me. I don't know why, but it always is. So I will say this. So the first call I received to get a liver, I went up, they prepared me to have surgery. I'm excited. I'm like, okay, I can live my life. This is going to happen. And they get ready to take me to surgery, and the doctor comes in and they cancel the surgery because the organ was not good enough to transplant.
Mm-hmm.
And so right then I went through the entire grief process again, because, they call it, in the medical community, they call it a dry run. I call it grief. You're taking away what I thought I was going to have. That new life is now, it's devastating. It's like a gut punch is how I describe it.
Yeah. It's one of those things that you have a slice of this little sliver of hope,
Right.
and all of a sudden it's snatched away, and it allows you the opportunity to actually allow that emotion to come in and just really feel. I know that it happens more often than not, that organs and patients and they have to match. Otherwise, it's not going to be, it's going to be surgery for little or nothing. Rejections and all of the things that go along with that. I know it's a process. So fortunately, you did get on another list, and eventually. So what was the next step after that rejection and that failed attempt, and that grief that came with it? What was next?
Grief that came with it was defeatism. I just thought, well, this is never going to happen. I have 3 months basically to live. That's how. So different organs have different scoring on how sick you are. So with a liver, it's called a MELD score. And that's median end of life disease, liver disease. But my score was like a 28. So I had about a 30% chance of making it 3 months. So I thought, well, this is, of course, not going to happen. And the next week, August 7th, I received a call that said, we have a liver for you. And I said, am I the primary, because I'm kind of sick and kind of frustrated from the last time. And they said, yes. And so, of course, those questions all come back of, oh my gosh, is this it? And we went to the hospital and they started the testing to allow me to go into surgery. And I was so excited and so scared in the same breath. And when I talk to patients getting ready to go through a transplant now, I'm like, I want to say the only thing you're able to say to your family is, I love you.
Yeah.
You can't say, there's nothing else that can come out of you but that.
Yeah.
Because it's a surgery, whether you may or may not make it. It's just like a roll of the dice kind of thing.
Absolutely.
That's at least in my mind.
Yeah. Well, that's a very incredibly powerful story, Lorrinda. And I just want to emphasize to everyone, the reason this story is here today and the reason we're sharing this information is because it's such an important piece of the equation to help people that do have a potential end of life date, an expiration date in their future. And there's a lot of things that we can do medically now, and there's processes we can do. And unfortunately, it does take someone else losing a life to increase and improve someone else's life. However, I think the equation and that gift of life has to be in place and has to be understood, because there are so many things that people can benefit from by going on and moving forward after their transplant process. And Lorrinda, I think that's one of the things that we want to highlight with you is starting Trio was something that you did as a result of this process. So maybe you can talk a little bit about your recovery after the transplant and when the next transplant took place, or talk about the transplant, and then let's talk about what prompted you to start an organization that supports this cause.
Well, August 8th, 2018 was my transplant date. So I had received my liver transplant. And when I got out of the hospital, I was like, who else is like me? So I found some Facebook groups, and I could see that camaraderie that happens when, you're able to connect with someone that's been through the same thing that you have. May not be the same journey, but the feelings are the same. And so I was looking for a group, an organization, and I found Transplant Recipients International Organization. And in there, I found the president. It was Jim Gleason, and just a wonderful man that was 27 years post heart transplant.
Oh, wow.
And that gave me hope, because, I'm living by statistics after my transplant of, do you make it 1 year? Do you make it 5 years? I'm a statistic for the first 5 years of my life.
Yeah.
And so to see someone that had 30 years or 27 years is just like, okay, I can do this. How did you do it? So I joined their board of directors, and we didn't have anything in Oklahoma. And I'm like, we need a chapter in Oklahoma, because I think it's important to have people talk to each other. It would have been important for me as a pre-transplant to talk to someone post-transplant, and to have that connection, to have that guide. It's not a medical guide, but I'm going to share my experience, strength, and hope with someone else, that they can help take the fear away.
Well, there's a powerful tool. There's a really powerful element to know that you're not alone. And if you can share your story, how is that going to impact those that have the journey in front of them? So thank you so much for doing that, Lorrinda.
Oh, it was powerful for my mental health. My mental health is better because I get to share it. So I would find myself in the lab getting labs, and I would talk to someone that had a transplant. I'm like, when was yours? And they would say, oh, it was this date. And I'm like, oh, I had mine on this date. And how are you feeling? And what medicines are you taking? And that just immediate, like, lifelong friend.
Yeah.
And
There's
so
there has to be a certain sense of empowerment to be able to share it with somebody else and encourage somebody else that, hey, I went through this. I've seen other people go through this, and you're not alone. You have a community here, and that has to be empowering. So empowering for you, Lorrinda.
It is. What was wonderful is, I decided to start Trio Oklahoma, and the president of Trio said, Lorinda, go ahead and do it, kind of patted me on the shoulder. But that was just how he was. And I'm like, okay, so I'm trying, I'm thinking, when is the perfect time to do something? And there is never a perfect time. You have to start. We always have to start what we're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did. And,
thank you so much for starting. Thank you so much. So how long has it been since you launched Trio in Oklahoma?
It was 2 years in April. So April 2nd of 2020, direct when COVID started is when I started Trio. and because I thought, well, how perfect is this Zoom? Yeah. And then we get people that are sick that don't want to go somewhere to be able to talk to someone and have that connection. So absolutely. That was my plan.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk about your journey. Talk about what activities and actions are being taken in Trio, and what are you doing with the community that allows you to kind of give back, so to speak?
Well, I started a grassroots effort, and I found like 3 people that I knew, and so I got my board of directors for Trio Oklahoma, and we started peer-to-peer meetings. And so I started with 3 people, and now we have over 100 people involved in Trio Oklahoma. And that includes pre-transplant patients. But I talked to my social worker. I got very involved with talking to them about the need for pre-transplant people to understand what they're going through, because no one has really, I'm not defined by the hospital or by any law, that HIPAA, anything like that. I'm able to share with another patient, outside of it, this is what I did, or this is what helped me. And I think that's really important for patients to know. And we started that, and I have seen it grow. And now we have, I'm trying to think because it's just crazy. We've had 2 meetings a week for the last 6 months. We've had a meeting every week for the last 2.5 years. Every week, consistently. We have topics, and we moderate it, and we don't get into any kind of medical advice. We have a dietitian that comes on because diet is so important pre-transplant, and it's different post-transplant for healing. Right. And so to be able to have a dietitian too, and her husband is post-kidney transplant, he's 30 years out.
Wow.
So
wow. I just thought about this. It just dawned on me that I'm actually, I had a cornea transplant in the early 90s.
You're a recipient.
I'm a recipient. It's just like, okay, I guess I do fit that it's crazy to think about that, because I hadn't even thought about it. However, I still have a cornea, and it was kind of a interesting procedure. However, nothing compared to what you went through and had to go through. And it can affect anyone that's around us. So I just want to remind everybody that this is a Second Chance chimes in, and that's operated by Philip Jones Jr. And a Second Chance assists and supports people in this situation. And hello, everyone. Thanks, Russ and Lorrinda, for doing this. Greatly appreciate you both. Please go watch the rest of the shows. Next is Mark Lee with guest Zach Brooks on LinkedIn. I just really appreciate the fact that they're doing this. And this is a fundraising event. So if you want to donate, or you can donate, or you're compelled to donate as a result of this story, I would really encourage you to go to asecondchance.net/donate. All of the proceeds go to the community, and they don't operate on a budget. Everything is contributed back to the community. So this is a passion that Philip has been doing, and you probably are familiar with their process more than I am, Lorrinda. So maybe you could share that, and maybe you can encourage why people need to contribute and what's involved in this activity that we can actually support. Maybe you can dive into that a little deeper as well.
Okay. I will say, during my journey of getting the peer-to-peer program going and starting Trio, Oklahoma, has given me a chance to explore other things. And so I'm on the Patient Affairs Committee for UNOS for Region 4 for Oklahoma and Texas. I am now the president of Transplant Recipients International Organization, and I've been able to go to different places for the scientific registry of transplantation and hear different things from doctors and regulators to really understand the donation process. And I'm going to say from the very start, my donor is my hero. And my donor, that was, when we talk in peer-to-peer about what organ donation is, it's someone that's decided that they want to help someone else if they cannot no longer go on. And it's a gift. It is not someone has to die so I can live. That is not how it works. But it's someone that chooses to be a part of someone else being able to extend their life and have family around. Mm-hmm. And during this time, I've been watching people online, and I met Philip, and I was like, I like him. There is something about his passion and what he is doing to help the transplant community, and with kidney and being such a young recipient, his journey starting out. So I find that just absolutely outstanding. I love his passion because he's educating patients. Just like that's what we have to do as transplant patients, is share our story and make sure that that's how we educate, because a doctor is going to say big words. And, when you're sick, you don't necessarily understand them.
No.
When you're well, you don't necessarily understand those words. So
no, it's really a compelling story. And I've been in and out of, hospital and medical facilities, and I was an EMT at one point in my life, and seeing, tragedy firsthand. And the reality is the more we learn and the more we understand the cause and effect, I think it's really important for people to know that they can, like you said, make a choice. They can make a decision to give, donate, be an organ donor. I'm an organ donor. I encourage everybody in my family to become an organ donor, and we support it and endorse it. And I really, having been on, I guess, both sides of the equation, I have to appreciate the process and appreciate the goals. And thank you so much for supporting that. And I just want to remind everybody that you can donate to this cause. And Philip, those that know Philip, DJ, we adore Philip. He's wonderful and has the biggest heart. Amen, sister. That's really important for people to understand, that this is a community of individuals that have a common goal, and to inform and educate others around them to the point where we understand that it's not doom and gloom. And there are people out there doing some great work to encourage others around them to learn more about that. So if you can donate, or you're willing to donate, I would appreciate you reaching out to Philip and donate. Go to www.secondchance.net/donate. secondchance.net/donate. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we may not understand or appreciate. Even me, as close to it as I have been, I'm not involved in it. So I can't really appreciate everything that you've gone through by any stretch. And maybe you can share how you felt after a certain point, after you had surgery and you had the transplant took place. Was there that fear or that chance of rejection that you had to go through, and how did you get through that roller coaster of emotion?
There was that fear, but it was a fear of something I had in my mind, like a Bugs Bunny cartoon. Like, I'm going to go in
Mhm.
rejection, my liver's going to jump up and run away. I'm thinking that the worst happens, and that is not the case. And when someone goes into rejection, there are different levels of rejection. There's acute rejection, and there is chronic rejection, and they can control it if they get to it early enough and control it with steroids and medication. But one thing that I see that we need to break the stigma around organ donation, the stigma that, oh, you got a liver transplant, so you must have drank and that's why you need it, or you ate too much. And they're not
Mhm.
looking at everything with liver disease ends in cirrhosis. It all goes to the same place. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
if you drank, you ate. So I did drink, but also had alpha 1 antitrypsin that I did not know about, a genetic
Mm.
disorder that caused me not to be able to process things in my liver. So that just exacerbated the whole my liver failing that I didn't know about, and they didn't know about until they biopsied my liver. So, making sure that people understand that, just because you have diabetes, if you have diabetes, doesn't mean, someone's kidney transplant, they didn't have to do, eat, or they didn't, do things to cause it. Same thing with
Mhm.
lungs. It's not everyone smoked to get lung cancer or lung disease where they have to have a lung transplant. Same thing with heart. And so we've changed the attitude about heart. Now we got to change the attitude about other, transplantations, and making sure that we're talking about living organ donation. And I know
Mhm.
that that's really important with Philip, with Second Chance Transplant, just because um, they're working hard to educate, patients, and we need to educate people in the community about the opportunities of being a living donor, and how that change for them, how they can donate and really change someone's life. I think is really important because a lot of people do not know about that living donor for, especially for kidney transplants. In some
Yeah.
areas, they do liver.
Yeah. And I'm surprised to hear you say that, because I hadn't really thought about that connection between, um, you know, a disease or a genetic defect, or, anomaly, uh, and blame in terms of the medical, field, or anybody around you that's thinking, oh, well, oh yeah, you probably did something that caused this. It's your fault. And now now we have to do a transplant. I hadn't really thought about it or processed it like that, but that is common. I mean, is that some of the things and the emotions you felt or received feedback from, until it was understood that?
It wasn't feedback, but I felt that. you know,
Mm.
I felt like I did it to myself. This is what I've done. And a lot of people, there is a stigma, and we have to break it. That's the main thing, because I didn't realize that I had the alpha 1 antitrypsin. I did
Mm.
not know that. And it would have helped if someone would have said, hey, this is what's going on. This is why you have high liver enzymes 18 years before I needed a transplant.
Mm.
It would have maybe changed my diet or how I did things. I don't know. I can't say, oh, if this would have happened, I would have done this. I
Wow.
can't say that. I just have to be with
Coulda,
what.
shoulda, woulda, huh?
Yeah, I could. Really, would I have? I don't think so. I probably would have said, oh, it's not a big deal, and move on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting, dilemma, because, we only can control so much of our life. And, I live with the gratitude every day. I wake up with gratitude, and I focus on the positive, and I think, that's the reason for the kindness crew and the pirate syndicate, and the idea that, kindness is cool as smiles are free, because like I said, you don't know what other people are going through. And you may have that feeling of, wow, I'm burdened with this guilt and this emotional attachment to some of the things that I could have done differently that are impacting my life now. And, we can do that. However, when you're looking at, you know, a lifespan, and you're looking at a possible, medical procedure that can extend that life, it's really, you have to focus on the future, not the past. I have to imagine that you had at some point in time, you're saying, okay, I don't have any control over what's happened. I only have control over what I can do going forward. And so that has to have an impact on your mental state and some of the things that you started doing or changes that you made. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the community and how that conversation takes place in the community as a whole.
Well, now in the community, I actually, the hospital will call me up to go talk to a patient that doesn't know on a transplant or not, or that is an organ failure, because I can go in and talk to them and say, I've been in your shoes. They sent me to AA because I had alcohol use in my folder. So I was like, okay. So now I'm trying to help people that have to go to AA, that have to do certain things to get a transplant, because it is so overwhelming as a patient to try to do it yourself. And the best thing for me mentally is to stay out of my head and to help someone else. And so when I'm helping someone else, I'm sharing my journey, my experience, and hopefully that guides them to where they can make an informed decision about whether they want to go through the process. And their families, no one thinks about what is the family going through. As a patient, I'm sitting here trying to, get on the transplant list. And then I'll go to a family event and they're like, get well, because they don't know what to say. No one knows how to talk to you. And all we know how to say is get well. And you're like, it just doesn't happen that way. You're like, I'm trying.
You could say it as many times as you want. That's not going to help. So it's interesting
the patient to feel that, to understand. I said, they don't know. You have to be kind and say to yourself, it's okay. That's all they know how to say, because they don't know about it. So maybe
having an opportunity here, Lorrinda, we have an opportunity here. So as someone that's been in that situation, what would be something people could say or share with a potential transplant recipient that would be more appropriate or more supportive? And what words of encouragement could they share with you at that point in time?
I think it would have been I can't imagine what you're going through, but I'm here to help in any way I can. If you need to talk, I think that is a great, because the only people that know about it are the people that have actually went through it, because it is so, it's a lot. It's just a lot. But one thing I do encourage everyone to get, and that is a fight song, because I would get in my feelings and I'd want to give up because it's so hard. And then I would go listen to my fight song, and then I'd be able to, okay, let's do this. And so I do. I am like everyone. I ask them, I'm like, what's your fight song? And it doesn't matter if you need a transplant or not. What is your fight song? What gets you motivated to go do what you need to do?
Yeah, I love that idea. And it's interesting you say that, because I was listening to some tracks earlier today, and just to put me in a mode of this, because there are times where it's emotional for me. It hits me hard, and having had somebody in your life and having them leave is really difficult to understand. And the fact that they were able to contribute to so many other lives. I think Parker was, my son was able to contribute, I think, to 12 transplant recipients. And so his ability, and it was fascinating the way they did it. It was out of Houston, and they all came in. All the transplant recipients came in at one time. They had one surgery, and they went through all the transplants they could, and everybody that matched out, and it was all a process, and then it was over, and it was, completed. And so with that moment in time, and all the surgeons are, working together to make everything work out the best possible outcome that we can imagine. And it's just really important for people to understand that, like you said, this is a gift. This is a positive outcome from something that, took place. And we have to understand that there are recipients out there, just like Lorrinda, that are waiting for this. And Philip is helping those with the second chance. And he does this. He doesn't take any funds for it. Everything goes back into the community. And so if you can donate and contribute to this cause to bring the awareness to more people and expand this understanding, I think it's important that we work together to do all we can in order to accomplish this goal. So I really appreciate what you're doing, Lorrinda, and thank you for the opportunity to come together on the Kindness Crew here and share your story, because it's so critical that people understand what has actually taken place. And I also have a question for you. Is what haven't we talked about that is important to you about this process? What lack of understanding or lack of awareness what do we have in society as a whole that you would like to probably bring a little more highlight to and awareness to?
I have been thinking about that a lot, and it is working together. It's organizations coming together to educate the community. Everyone knows about transplantation, or there's organizations that are out there talking about it, but it's the recipients, it's the patients that need a transplant. Where's the why? The why is in the patient. Why do you want to be an organ donor? Because this person needs a transplant, and it's not adults. I mean, there's children. Our youngest in Trio, Oklahoma, the youngest patient is 2.5 right now, and she had a liver transplant last year. So it's not just adults; it is children too, and that's probably the hardest thing for a parent, as you understand. To have a child. And even at a younger age, that a tragic accident happens, and are they able to help someone else? And for that parent to take that grief and to say, this is what we want to do, is just, it's just overwhelmingly, I don't know how to process that, because for me, that just hurts me. But I'm very grateful for those people that make those decisions to help others.
Yeah. Well, I know that I'm honored that it was available, and even the opportunity existed, because there's a reason. I believe there's a reason for everything, and whatever takes place in the future could have an impact, a positive outcome, and so it has impacted a lot of lives. And I believe that there's a positive outcome as a result of that. And I just know that if more people thought through this logically and emotionally and in a positive way, and thinking, okay, we can help someone, even, if you have a healthy organ and you can actually be an organ donor, and something happens, you have it on your driver's license, and you have it, on your ID, you can actually become available and help somebody out. And I just think that's exactly what needs to take place. To me, it's a no-brainer. Maybe it's because of my experience in my past and in my exposure to it. However, it makes sense. It just makes sense. How can I help somebody beyond my life here? And if I can do that and contribute, I just want to remind people that it's so important and so critical to think about both sides of the equation, the gift of life and, contributing to the community and humanity as a whole. I think it's just, it's absolutely critical. And we all have the ability and the opportunity to share that kindness and that gift. So,
well, the greatest number of transplant wait on the waiting list is kidney. Is the greatest number of people waiting on a transplant, and then I think there's 104,000 people right now on the waiting list, and I just want to share that when I received my transplant in 2018 in the United States, they did 8,500 liver transplants. I am one of 8,500 people. I'm only one of 55 wow. in Oklahoma. I am one of 8 of my blood type. And so for me to have this gift, I cannot do anything else but give back because I'm so touched. And, it's like winning the lottery for me that I actually received a transplant. And I'm grateful for my donor and that family every day. And wow. all I can do is give back.
Have you met the family?
I have not.
Okay. How do you feel about that? How would you process that?
Well, he asked me that at the start of the show and I started crying. So I'm just going to tell you that I would be very emotional and very, very thankful because I want to say this is what I've done because of your mother or your aunt or your sister. This is what I've been doing to help others. And I think that's how I can honor my donor. And I see, yes. And I see Philip doing the same thing. And, I'm watching his journey. And I think that what he's doing is just outstanding. And, like you said, this is to donate to Second Chance. He doesn't receive any funds and he does help the community. And that's what's so important. Because I'm just in awe of him. And I told him that and I said, I love what you're doing.
I think it's important for people to understand. If you're not connected with Philip, go connect with him. He's on social media. He's over at LinkedIn. And I've been on some live streams with him, and it's really an inspiring individual that takes time out of their day, just like Lorrinda is, and goes out and accesses the community, gathers people up to create a much larger, more impactful event and activity. And it's really difficult to feel sorry for yourself when you're helping someone else out of their dark places. And it has to be very fulfilling and gratifying, Lorrinda, to be able to do that on a regular basis. Because, people come and go and they're involved and they're engaged in it. And they probably at some point in time, they, have to move on with their lives and go back to being normal, I guess is the best way to describe it. And it's just a piece of history that we have to kind of look at and inspect and say, wow, this is incredibly powerful. And like yourself, you're going out and helping other people make an impact on their lives and others around them. So thank you so much for doing that.
Oh, well, thank you for what you're doing. I love your hashtags. Kindness is cool and smiles are free. And what you said about together, it is what needs to happen is together we have to go out and make sure that we're educating the community and helping people know that they can be a living kidney donor and how important that is and what the impact is. And people need to see the impact that they would bring to a life.
Well, how many stories have you seen where relatives or, family members have donated a kidney to help their family members? I mean, it happens on a regular basis, and it's a really heartwarming, impactful story that, to me, it just, I get choked up about it because it's such a gift. It's such a gift, a powerful gift. And it's just something that a lot of people don't think about on the regular day-to-day basis. It's like, okay, I got to pick up the kids. I got to go to the grocery store. I got to, go to soccer practice. I got to be on a show today. It's like, So I just really appreciate what you're doing. And again, everyone, please, if you're able to contribute and also follow up Philip Jones Jr. and donate to a secondchance.net/donate. I got it up on the screen. And if you're listening to this in the future, or you're looking forward to something encouraging and enlightening, you can also go to Trio. You can connect with Lorrinda at trioweb.org. And that's Trio, TRIOWEB.org. And so what's the plans for 2023, Lorrinda, as we wrap up this show today?
Oh, I have some big plans.
Okay.
No, I
Secret
believe
plans? Secret plans?
not secret plans, but really showing. We have a post-transplant cancer website, and we're going to be doing some more updates. It's the first one that's ever been put out there. We had an article published in a medical journal, and we're going to move forward with writing a paper about our peer-to-peer and what happens when you get pre-transplant and post-transplant patients together, and how that helps everyone in their mental health go through the process and come out much better on the other side after transplant.
We should probably have some virtual events for those activities.
Yes.
People that are facing it and people that have lived through it, huh?
Absolutely, because when you can sit down and see that, it is amazing to watch the conversation.
Yeah. What's the biggest question you wanted to ask people before you went through this process?
I wanted to see someone that made it through, because what I heard were statistics, this very regimented medical information. And I would love to hear someone say, I feel that way.
Yeah.
This is what happened to me.
Kind of remove the clinical jargon from it and move into the more personalized conversation.
Say it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard, but you're going to be okay. You're going to have to deal with this. But like I said, get a fight song, get ready. You're going to have the time that you got to fight and move forward. So I get to see patients when they're out of ICU. They actually call in from ICU to talk to us because they're so excited they received their transplant. So that's pretty amazing.
That is amazing. I really, and the statistics are staggering, yet they're actually lower than I anticipated. Which I don't know if that's good or bad.
That doesn't count the people that don't know that their organs are failing. Those are the people that know. There's a whole slew of people out there that are having issues that are not going to go to the doctor until it's emergency room time because I'm fine. That's what I did. I'm fine. I'm, so.
Denial. That river.
Denial. Yeah.
Denial. That river we all hear about.
Yeah.
Well, I just really appreciate you, and I'm so honored to be able to spend time with you and help out in this conversation. And as always, anyone that is open to this kind of conversation and willing to share it, I really would like to make the connections and make those introductions if possible. Reach out to me. Make sure that you have an opportunity to make the connections, start a conversation. Even if somebody in your family is impacted and might be in a little bit of denial, maybe a conversation could change the direction of their outcomes and their future. And you never know where a conversation is going to take us, because you're only one conversation away from making changes in somebody's life. So it's just really important that we do this together as a community, as part of humanity. It's really important that we work together, and kindness is cool and smiles are free. And as always, I just want to remind everybody, just like DJ, thank you both. Great hour, great job. Really love this. DJ, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your comments, conversation. Lorrinda, it's always a pleasure. And always appreciated. And I look forward to future conversations as well.
Absolutely. I do too.
So everyone, connect with Lorrinda at trioweb.org, and then also remind everybody in your network of networks that a Second Chance 12-hour fundraising event is taking place till 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time today. And we have an opportunity to make a matter, make a change in someone's life. And I just encourage you to take that step and move forward with that opportunity. So everyone, thank you so much. See you on the next one.